Alex Turner and Evelyn Marsh were celebrated minds at MIT, renowned for their groundbreaking work in artificial intelligence. But behind the walls of innovation, a deadly secret was unfolding. When Evelyn was found poisoned in her own apartment, the quiet genius Alex became the prime suspect in a crime so meticulously planned it seemed impossible to solve. What drove a brilliant scientist to commit an almost perfect murder? This is the story of ambition, betrayal, and the dark side of intellect. Dr. Alex Turner was a name that carried weight in the world of technology. From an early age, he had shown an uncanny talent for computers and problem-solving. By the time he reached his mid-30s, he had earned a prestigious PhD in computer science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the most respected institutions on the planet. Alex was not just smart, he was brilliant, the kind of mind that saw patterns where others saw chaos and solved problems that left others baffled. His research focused on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, fields that promised to change the world. Colleagues admired him for his sharp intellect and dedication. Many saw him as someone destined for greatness. At MIT, Alex was known for his calm and reserved nature. He rarely spoke in large groups but had a quiet confidence that commanded respect. Unlike some of his peers who chased attention, Alex preferred to work in the background, letting his work speak for itself. His office was a reflection of his mind, neat, organized, and filled with complex code running on multiple screens. Despite his brilliance, he wasn't seen as arrogant or unapproachable. Instead, he was considered reliable, trustworthy, and even a bit humble. Among those who knew him best was Dr. Evelyn Marsh, his mentor and close collaborator. Evelyn was a respected researcher in her own right, with a warm personality that balanced Alex's more reserved demeanor. She had guided him through the toughest parts of his doctoral journey, offering encouragement and insight. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and a shared passion for pushing the boundaries of technology. To outsiders, they seemed like a perfect team, two brilliant minds working toward the same goals. But beneath the surface of academic success and innovation, there were tensions that few noticed. Alex was ambitious, eager to make a mark that would outshine even his mentor. He was under pressure from funding agencies and corporate partners who wanted rapid results. The stress weighed heavily on him, sometimes showing in brief moments of frustration or exhaustion. Still, he maintained his composed exterior, careful not to reveal the strain he felt inside. What no one suspected was that Alex's fascination with technology extended beyond the laboratory. He was an expert hacker, skilled at manipulating digital systems in ways most people couldn't imagine. This talent was not always used for good. Behind closed doors, Alex sometimes tested security systems, probing for weaknesses just to see if he could break them. It was a game to him, a challenge of intellect and creativity. But this skill would soon become a dangerous tool. As the days moved forward, Alex's research was reaching a critical point. He was working on a project that could revolutionize AI security, potentially making hacking obsolete. This breakthrough attracted attention, but also envy and competition. Unbeknownst to his colleagues, the pressure to protect his work and maintain his reputation was pushing him into darker territory. No one could have predicted what would happen next. The quiet, brilliant man who walked the halls of MIT was about to become the center of a shocking crime that would shake the scientific community. The world was about to see just how far intelligence combined with obsession could go, and how easily a perfect mind could slip into darkness. Dr. Evelyn Marsh's death came as a shock to everyone who knew her. She was found alone in her apartment, one cold morning, slumped over her desk where she had spent countless hours working on her research. The scene appeared peaceful at first, almost like she had simply fallen asleep. But the reality was far more sinister. The medical examiner quickly confirmed that Evelyn had been poisoned, a rare and deadly toxin that left no obvious traces in the usual blood or tissue tests. This poison was unlike anything local authorities had seen before, making the case immediately puzzling and deeply concerning. What baffled investigators most was how the murderer had entered the apartment without leaving any sign of forced entry. Evelyn's building was secured with keycard access, and her own apartment door showed no signs of tampering. The security system, which included cameras and motion sensors, had been mysteriously disabled or bypassed during the time of the crime. This raised questions about whether the killer had inside knowledge or access to the building's security protocols. The police were left with no clear leads, no fingerprints, and no witnesses. It was as if the murderer had vanished into thin air. Neighbors reported hearing nothing unusual the night Evelyn died. No sounds of struggle, no unfamiliar voices, no signs that anyone had been there. The quietness of the crime only added to its chilling nature. Evelyn was well liked and respected, and no one could understand why anyone would want to harm her. The investigators began to look into her personal and professional life, searching for any potential enemies or reasons someone might wish her harm. Initially, suspicion fell on rival researchers in the fiercely competitive world of scientific discovery. It was no secret that Evelyn's work attracted both admiration and jealousy, yet none of the usual suspects had a solid motive strong enough to drive them to murder. The lack of any clear enemies made the investigation drag on with few breakthroughs. Meanwhile, public interest grew as news spread about the mysterious death of such a prominent figure in the tech community. The breakthrough came when the investigators started to scrutinize the smart home system installed in Evelyn's apartment. This technology controlled everything from the lights to the temperature and even the water filtration system. It was sophisticated but vulnerable to hacking. An expert team was called in to analyze the digital records, and what they found was alarming. The system's logs had been manipulated, the timestamps were altered, and several camera feeds were missing during the critical window of the murder. Someone with deep technical skills had carefully erased evidence, making it almost impossible to trace. This discovery shifted the focus of the investigation. The killer was no ordinary criminal, but someone with advanced knowledge of technology, someone who could use digital tools to cover their tracks. This realization narrowed the list of suspects and pointed towards someone close to Evelyn, someone who understood her routines and the security setup intimately. As the investigation dug deeper into the digital footprint left behind, the puzzle began to take shape. The seamless execution of the crime suggested a mind as methodical and intelligent as Evelyn's own, a mind capable of planning every detail in advance. But who could match such cunning? The answer would soon become clearer, and the story would take a turn that no one saw coming. The investigation into Dr. Evelyn Marsh's death took a sharp turn when the digital forensic team uncovered subtle signs of manipulation within the apartment's smart home system. At first, the altered security logs appeared flawless, too perfect even. The timestamps had been edited to cover a specific time frame, and camera footage was missing precisely during the hours surrounding Evelyn's death. This was no accident. Someone had spent time carefully erasing their digital tracks, a task that required advanced knowledge of cybersecurity and hacking. Detectives began to focus on those who had access to Evelyn's apartment and were familiar with her technology. It wasn't long before their attention landed on Dr. Alex Turner, her close collaborator and protege. Alex had been one of the few people granted full access to her smart home devices for collaborative research. More importantly, He possessed the skills necessary to manipulate such systems without leaving obvious traces. But the police still lacked concrete evidence tying him to the crime. And Alex's reputation as a brilliant but unassuming scientist made it difficult to believe he could commit such a calculated murder. Despite this, investigators found anomalies in Alex's activity logs. Hours before Evelyn's death, he had accessed her apartment's system remotely, something he had never done publicly or professionally. When pressed, he claimed it was part of routine research collaboration, but the timing raised suspicion. The digital footprints showed that Alex had exploited a vulnerability in the home's security software, allowing him to disable cameras and alarms remotely. This level of control pointed to premeditation, not an accidental oversight. However, the case became more complicated with the discovery of a hidden secret. Alex had an identical twin brother named Aaron. The twins were virtually indistinguishable, sharing the same features, voice, and mannerisms. Unlike Alex, Aaron lived a secluded life away from technology and the academic world. This revelation introduced new uncertainty. Could Aaron have committed the crime while framing Alex? Was this a case of mistaken identity? The police scrambled to track Aaron's movements, hoping to establish an alibi or motive. They discovered that Aaron had been in a different state during the time of Evelyn's death, with no evidence linking him to the crime scene. But the existence of the twin complicated matters and cast a shadow over Alex's apparent guilt. It raised questions about whether someone else could have used Alex's digital credentials to carry out the crime without his knowledge. Investigators then shifted their focus to the possibility of inside help. They examined communications between Alex and Evelyn, hoping to find clues about the nature of their relationship in the days before her death. They uncovered emails and encrypted messages that suggested tension beneath their professional exterior. Evelyn had expressed concerns about data security, hinting at suspicions that someone close to her was leaking confidential research. Despite these revelations, the evidence was circumstantial. Alex's calm and collected demeanor during questioning made it difficult to break through. But the tiniest digital mistake, the glitch in the security logs that Alex overlooked, began to unravel the case. This error, barely noticeable to anyone but a skilled investigator, became the first real link between Alex and the crime. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this murder was not just a crime of passion or rivalry, but a meticulously planned operation executed by a mind capable of manipulating technology to its limits. The complexity of the case grew with every discovery, and the question remained: how far was Alex willing to go to protect his secrets and ambitions? The answer was still hidden in the shadows of code and deception. The revelation of Alex Turner's identical twin brother Aaron cast a confusing shadow over the investigation. Suddenly, the seemingly clear-cut digital evidence took on a new, complex meaning. If two men looked the same and shared nearly identical knowledge, how could the police be certain who was truly behind the crime? Aaron's existence introduced doubt, forcing investigators to consider the possibility that the murder might be a twisted case of mistaken identity, or worse, a calculated frame-up. The police launched a thorough search to establish Aaron's whereabouts during the time of Evelyn Marsh's death. He lived quietly in a small town several states away, disconnected from the tech world and without a history of criminal behavior. Phone records, credit card transactions, and even eyewitness testimonies placed him far from the scene of the crime on the critical night. This alibi seemed airtight, but the twins' identical appearances still left room for suspicion. Could Aaron have traveled secretly, or had Alex's identity been stolen? Further digging revealed little about Aaron's life. Unlike Alex, He avoided social media and digital footprints. His offline existence made it difficult for investigators to understand his motives or connections. Was he involved in the black market for stolen research? Or was he an innocent bystander caught in his brother's shadow? The police had no answers. Meanwhile, Alex's story became more complicated. Friends and colleagues painted two different pictures of him: the brilliant scientist dedicated to his work, and a man under immense pressure, prone to secrecy. Rumors began to circulate about possible disputes over funding and intellectual property between Alex and Evelyn. The deeper detectives dug into Alex's past, the more they uncovered about his growing desperation to protect his research. It appeared that his ambition might have pushed him to cross dangerous lines. During the investigation, subtle behavioral clues emerged. Alex was careful with his words, evasive at times, and appeared unnervingly calm in situations where others would be distressed. This stoicism confused many, leaving some to believe he was innocent, while others saw it as evidence of cold calculation. His twin's existence blurred the lines of accountability further, making it nearly impossible to pin down who truly held responsibility. Authorities also discovered that the digital manipulation used to hack Evelyn's smart home was far too sophisticated for an amateur. The precision with which the security footage was erased, and the exact timing of the tampering, pointed to someone intimately familiar with Evelyn's daily routines. This suggested a deep betrayal by someone close, not a random act of violence. Despite the twin complication, the investigation was gaining momentum. Surveillance footage from nearby locations and traffic cameras showed Alex's car parked near Evelyn's apartment building the night of the murder. Although the security system logs had been altered, this physical evidence contradicted Alex's claims of innocence. Still, the mystery of Aaron's role, or lack thereof, left investigators cautious. They had to separate fact from theory and avoid letting the twins' existence become a convenient excuse. The pressure to find concrete evidence intensified. In the tangled web of identical faces and digital deception, the detectives faced a critical question. Was the murderer the brilliant Alex Turner, or was someone else manipulating the pieces from the shadows? The truth was hidden beneath layers of technology and human complexity, waiting to be uncovered. As they moved closer to the answer, the stakes grew higher, and the case became more dangerous than anyone could have predicted. The breakthrough that finally unraveled the mystery came from an unexpected place: a hidden backup file on Dr. Evelyn, Marsh's personal computer. This file was encrypted, and at first, it seemed like just another piece of research data. But when the forensic team managed to decode it, they uncovered a secret conversation that changed everything. The messages revealed Evelyn's growing suspicion that someone close to her was stealing sensitive research data and selling it on the black market, and that someone was none other than Alex Turner. The encrypted file contained detailed logs of their communications, with Evelyn warning Alex that she had uncovered evidence of his betrayal. She urged him to stop, threatening to expose the theft to their funding agencies and university officials. The tone of the messages became increasingly tense, revealing a rift beneath the surface of their professional partnership. It was clear Evelyn had planned to confront Alex, which gave the investigation a powerful motive for murder. This discovery explained the high level of planning and technological skill involved in the crime. Alex's deep knowledge of hacking and cybersecurity allowed him to disable Evelyn's smart home defenses and deliver poison in a way that initially appeared flawless. His attempt to cover his tracks with digital manipulation was nearly perfect, except for one tiny mistake in the security logs, the digital fingerprint that tipped off investigators. With this new evidence, the police moved quickly. They reviewed surveillance footage again, confirmed Alex's movements near Evelyn's apartment, and gathered more technical proof of his remote access to her systems. Alex was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, his calm demeanor replaced by a stunned silence. The trial that followed gripped the public's attention. The prosecution painted Alex as a brilliant but ruthless man who valued his ambition over human life. They showed how his skills allowed him to orchestrate a near-perfect crime, and how his arrogance led to the small digital error that ultimately sealed his fate. The defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial and that Aaron, the twin, might have been involved. But the overwhelming technical proof and the encrypted messages made it clear who was responsible. In the end, Alex Turner was convicted. The case became a landmark example of how technology can be used both as a weapon and as a tool for justice. It also served as a stark reminder that intelligence, no matter how advanced, cannot guarantee a perfect crime. Arrogance and desperation often lead even the smartest minds to make mistakes. This story remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the dark side of human nature hidden behind genius. Alex Turner's Almost Perfect. Murder was stopped not by chance, but by the persistence of investigators and the very technology he thought he had mastered. It showed that no secret can stay hidden forever, and no crime is truly without fault. As the courtroom emptied and the public moved on, the legacy of Dr. Evelyn Marsh lived on, not just in her research, but in the truth she fought to protect, and the world was left to wonder how many other brilliant minds might be hiding shadows just beneath the surface.